Okay, so now what I'm doing with him is I've had the tarp kind of on his body, and so, yes, he has a beautiful, lovely tail. This is going to do nothing to impact that gorgeous tail. The way that I've tied the tarp to the tail, that it's just around the outside, so it will just fall off of the tail. So what I wanted to do is start to get used to this. We had a horse here about 6 months ago that I worked with and did all the same stuff, and he came walking up the next morning after the night. We had a storm, and he had like an 8-foot branch that was actually attached to his tail, and he was walking around like it was no big deal. Everybody at the farm was like, oh my God, I don't know how he did that. And I said, well, because we've got him set up for success to handle that, because most horses wouldn't have handled that. So you never know what's going to happen to a horse. They could be walking through the tack, they could be walking through the barn and have something catch it and get stuck in it. I had a horse last week that was walking through the barn, and one of the name tags for the other horses got stuck in the horse's tail, and we rode the whole way before I realized it was in there. So I have this on him, so as he feels this go around, I want him to not be worried as it's kind of going closer and closer to him. So what I did was I had that really nice and loose there, so he could figure out that it's not going to attack him. And the first time I do that, I also want to make sure that that he's going to be okay with it and he doesn't freak out. So we want to do baby steps. So I want to make sure that that was loose enough on him, so if I needed it to, that it would just kind of release for him. So I'm going to put that on there again, because I want him to be able to regulate that there might be something back there. And it's going to be when we make this left turn. This is a great exercise for changing of the eye. So to make that left turn, he's going to catch it off of his eye, so you can see it's rubbing him up against the leg. It's not too big of a deal. I'll do this a couple times before I make that any more snug. So good boy. Now I'm going to go off this way. Good. Want to make sure that changing the eye didn't really get him. Now I'll put that back on him. So this is a horse that, because he had very, very low self-esteem, was very, very worried, and that self-esteem came because he didn't really know how to handle situations. He didn't know how to regulate himself. And so I want to make sure that we're helping him to have this regulation. And we take in baby steps. So good. Good. So I'm really, really happy with that. Because that, every time he steps under with that inside hip, that flag's getting closer to him. So I'm going to ask him just to stop and stay here with me and not get worried. So see how he's getting a little worried? I'm dropping my energy. I want him to realize that when he stops, that movement will stop. Nice big lick and chew here. So these are things that we're doing that's kind of putting him in a little bit of a threshold of, but knowing the answer to the question we've already asked. So now I'm going to ask him to change directions. Because if he wouldn't have stopped, and most horses, when you do an exercise like this, is that if something's chasing them, they're gonna try and get away from it. So I'm going to ask him just to stop here. And what he's doing is he's regulating, going, when I stop, the tarp stops.